Entitled anti-vaxxers cause half the classroom to get chickenpox. You will not believe what the entitled parents have to say for themselves. This happened back when I was in kindergarten, so some details are a bit fuzzy. But the story is very much real. When I was in kindergarten, entitled boy came to class one day with chickenpox. This wasn't a mild case either. The spots were angry and red, and within a few hours, a couple of our classmates were itching. My teacher had immediately called his parents, but they refused to pick him up, saying that it would be good for the other children to be around him, and asking her to just leave him in the classroom. Now, only about half my class have gotten their chickenpox shots at this point. My parents were really good about getting my brother and I our shots when we were supposed to get them. But as this was early in the school year, a lot of parents have not gotten their kids vaccinated for chickenpox yet. Just so you know, to enroll in kindergarten at my elementary, you have to either vaccinate your kids before the school year starts or within 3 months. My teacher simply did not know what to do. The office told her that if the parents wanted the kid to remain in class, she was technically supposed to let him, unless other parents complained or the principal deemed him a danger to the students. The principal was over at the high school on the other side of the city. He was a principal of both. It's a weird Christian school thing. He would rush over when he could, but because of the school handbook, the EB had to remain in class. My teacher asked the school secretary to call our parents, but she only had home numbers for most parents and ended up with a lot of answering machines. So, in kindergarten, everyone sat at the table groups. I was at EB's table. He was carrying on like normal, yelling about Power Rangers if I remember correctly. I was also the only kid at our little table who have been vaccinated. I remember feeling bad because one of the girls was scheduled to get her shot the next day. Talk about bad luck. A lot of kids at my table started itching, and the girl who was supposed to get her shot the next day showed me her arm. She had very faint pink dots. I don't know if chickenpox usually moves that quickly, or if EB just had a super mutant strand. But I was freaked out. I knew I have gotten a shot that my mom promised would protect me from getting sick. But keep in mind, I was also 5 years old, and still thought Stitch from Lilo and Stitch was a real being who lived in Hawaii. I was convinced that touching EB would mean I would die from the chickenpox. So, my friends and I avoided him like he had. Well, the plague. Finally, the principal bursts into our room and kneels down in front of the boy. He asked EB to please come with him so they can call his parents together. About 20 minutes later, the entitled parents show up. Shit hits the fan. Entitled mom starts screaming about how both she and her husband are licensed chiropractors and know all about the evils of vaccines, and how vaccines give people autism. My oldest brother has Asperger's. If this happened the 5 years later, I could have roasted the hell out of these anti-vaxxers for their stupidity. Entitled dad tries to calm entitled mother down, but also quietly tells my principal that as a licensed chiropractor, they know and have seen how vaccines not only give children autism, but also make them gay. As a lesbian, I again could have roasted the shit out of them had this taken place years later. My principal firmly tells them that entitled boy needs to go home and can only come back when he has no chicken pox. Entitled parents try to fight back, but my principal is firm. And the boy is dragged away from class begging his parents for a new Power Rangers toy. As the week went on, more and more my classmates dropped like flies, until only about 7 of us remained. We were the lucky 7 who have been vaccinated prior to the start of the school year, and since most of the class was homesick, we got to play a ton of games and pick out books we want to read. Usually the class voted, and we 7 were among the outvoted group. After a few days, my classmates began to return. Not a red spot in sight. But it was a few weeks later that the real kicker happened. The entitled parents sent out emails to all parents of kids in my class, painting themselves as the victims and heroes for, quote, exposing the class to life's natural vaccine. My dad got mad because even though I did not get sick, thanks parents who were on top of my vaccinations, y'all rock, a lot of my classmates did. The entitled parents asked for a thank you from the other parents, and needless to say, they got no thank yous and only got a lot of passive-aggressive remarks and some glares in the hallway. Also, I don't feel too bad for entitled boy. He turned out to be one of the biggest entitled crapheads I've ever met. I went to school with him all the way through high school, and he's one of the worst humans I've ever had the displeasure of dealing with. The entitled apple doesn't fall far from the entitled tree. I think the problem with this story is these entitled parents thought that they were doing something good, but in reality, their entitlement, the only thing they cared about was their opinion and thinking that, oh, this is good for all the children. They ignored the wishes and thoughts and opinions of all the children's parents inside the classroom. That's the problem with the story, and that's why these entitled parents are absolute a-holes. Drop your thoughts down below what you think about this, how you would have handled the situation, and we'll take a look at our second story of the day. A mutual friend propositioned my newlywed wife for sexual actions and affairs. That's the best way to respond. Here we go, story number 2. So, my wife is a bombshell. 10 out of 10. But more than that, she's an amazing woman, compassionate, funny, caring, loyal, and badass. And some of her friendly qualities are often mistaken as flirting or expressing interest. So, with a heavy heart, she's now much more guarded when conversing with strangers. With old friends, she's her usual bubbly self as they know her. But alas, now one incident had caused her to pull back from interacting freely with friends too. So, we just got married last week, and on Sunday night, we hosted a small dinner for a few of our close friends. Now, one of those close friends have a crush on my wife. It's been for a while now. Nothing serious, but she knew and told me immediately, and then cut all unnecessary communication with him. That sucked for her because his wife is a good friend of my wife. Because of this obvious crush, they could not meet as often. We thought we would get over it, but on Sunday night he cornered my wife for 5 minutes and delivered his love speech about how he had to have her now and he could not sleep knowing that she's married to me. How true love knows no bounds or rules. Love can't be constrained and it should be free and so on and so forth. She immediately came and told me, but we did not make a scene as there were other friends there too. Now she's royally pissed and wants to expose him to all our friends group as he might have done the same thing to others too, or he might in the future. I am of the opinion that we should cut contact with him, but don't do anything more than that. What's the best way forward? Okay guys, Mr. Reddito here. That was a wild story. I could not imagine that happening. There is a complete update for this one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates. So let's go ahead and see what happens to this mutual friend. So, I got a lot of good advice, and some well-deserved criticism about my behavior too. It was indeed not right for me to take it as lightly as I appeared to do so. Believe me, I wanted to fight him, but I would not have solved any issues, only created more. But one thing the majority of commenters got right was I should have fully supported her desire to go nuclear on him. I appreciate the honesty from you guys, so anyways, I went and told her that I am sorry I was not more supportive, and I'm now 100% behind her, even if it means I have to kick his ass. She laughed and said she has devised a plan of action. She was going to talk to his wife first and then inform all the women in our friend group, as she thought it would be irresponsible for her to ignore his behavior, in case he tries or has already tried with someone else. So, here's what happened. She called his wife for lunch today and she told him. His wife was heartbroken and I stepped away to give her some freedom to vent. I went out and came back when my wife messaged me that she's gone. She told me that his wife confessed that it's happened once before too, when they lived somewhere else. Apparently, she seemed almost resigned to the fact because she wasn't angry. Rather, she was sad, and when my wife told her that she will be telling other women of this behavior, she didn't protest. My wife has called everyone for lunch on Saturday, and that's when she will tell them. She even feels bad about the wife, but feels it's kind of a moral responsibility just to warn everyone. I'm in complete agreement here, and guys, that's the update. I'm going to treat my wife to some homemade pizza tonight, since she's so awesome. Yeah, I could make pizza. Thanks for the suggestion, guys. In my opinion, I have to say OP's wife is not the a-hole. In fact, I think this guy needed to be exposed because, like she said, what if he would have done this to other people, or maybe he was going to in the future, and that's the worst possible outcome? Not the a-hole. Okay, guys, our final story of the day is another Am I the A-hole story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my mom more money after she stole from me? Guys, this is kind of a touchy story, so we'll discuss it after, but I would love to know your opinions on this next one, so here we go. I'm 19, female, and live alone with my mother. We live in a house owned by my dad. While he doesn't live with us, he still pays for the bills and utilities on our house, which leaves us to pay for internet, gas, groceries, and other streaming services. I chip in $100 a month for groceries. A couple weeks ago, she got into a car accident. Somebody ran a red light, got T-boned by my mom's SUV. Both cars ended up getting totaled. My mom does Instacart and DoorDash for a living, so she really relies on her car. She asked to loan $100 from me to get back on her feet. All I asked is that she does not snap at me, raise her voice, or start a fight with me, at least until she can pay me back. Because, well, we fight all the time and it's exhausting. Her birthday party was 2 days ago and she spent the majority of it away on bottles of booze and other party supplies. While helping her get the house ready, she screamed in my face how I'm always doing everything wrong and never doing anything right. She proceeded to call me stupid, useless, and other names to the point I was in tears. I begged her to please stop. She puffed out her bottom lip and started making a crying motion with her hands, mimicking tears. "Ooh, boo-hoo, your life is so hard, ooh." I ended up having to leave home in the middle of the night and stay at a friend's house. I ended up coming home later in the day and attending the party. Today, I saw I only had $30 in my bank account. When I was going through my bank history, I saw $30 was removed from my account. I have a teenager account under her bank account from when I was a minor, and I just never changed it, as she always talked me out of it. Apparently, she was billed $50 for something to do with her car. Details are fuzzy, and instead of her account being overdrafted, she transferred over $30 from my account into hers without consulting me. I was livid. She said it was when I left after our big fight and that I was ignoring her and left her no choice. I told her just because it was there, it's no excuse to take it without asking. She did promise to pay me back double of what she owed once she gets money from her insurance, and then asked if I could lend her $30 more just to pay for her phone bill. Because, well, she ran out of services and I can't call them without it. Here's where I am probably the a-hole. I told her no. She's not gonna take another dime from me after she's already stole $30 from me and just peed away the $100 I gave her on alcohol. She told me she's drowning and begging for my help. I told her, "You're going down and I'm not gonna let you drag me with you." She's now calling me a selfish a-hole, and I'm starting to feel like it, because I could have given her the money as I do get my paycheck next week. I keep going back and forth on that, and I don't need the money, and I'm technically in the position to give it to her. But also, it is my money, and every time I do lend it to her, she treats me horribly. So guys, am I the a-hole? I do not think OP was the a-hole in this story, but let's go ahead and look at a comment from the original thread before we talk about it more. Not the a-hole, but you need to take steps to separate yourself from her. Open your own bank account at a minimum, but find some way to leave. Your home is toxic and is going to keep you stalled until you hit a breaking point and are forced to leave. That's the comment, but OP actually replied to that and said, "I'm now considering creating a secret bank account and storing money in there until I have enough to leave. Question is, where would I go?" Well, guys, that's all the stories I have for you today. I hope each and every one of you enjoyed them. Drop your thoughts about them down below, and remember, it's always cool to be kind. I'll see you guys in the next one.